Hello and welcome my partners in crime, welcome back to Murder Analysed for another true crime. Now today's case is a solved case. It's an important case and it's quite new actually, that's just come out. Now if you are members of mine, you would know that I talk about police officers and I call them, you know, predators with warrant cards. Now this is exactly what this case is about. It is about a predator who was a police officer and has just been sentenced to 18 years and 3 months in Cambridge Crown Court. Now this was a serving police officer and his name was James Ford. Now, now this is a Hertfordshire case. This man came from Bishop Stortford. He also served actually within that area as well. Again, the child was under the age of 13 and of course cannot be named, nor would I name her. And I would appreciate if anyone knows anything about this case, do not name this child at all. Not at all. One, it's illegal to do so. She's protected by law. You know, this child has a life ahead of her. You can say whatever you want about this perpetrator, I don't care. But under no circumstances should anybody mention the name of this child or their family. So I've been saying about these sort of crimes for many years. We've had many, haven't we? I mean, the most outstanding one, I suppose, the one that all you would recognise, is the police officer Wayne Couzens who murdered Sarah Everard. But that was just really the pinnacle, I suppose. But underneath all that, there's been so many other crimes that have been perpetrated by police officers, serving police officers. This was not the Met Police, this was from the Hertfordshire Constabulary, and it was investigated by Cambridgeshire Police. Really, because you can't investigate someone like this in your own police force. It could have looked as biased or whatever, so it was took out of Hertfordshire and put into Cambridgeshire Police, and to tell you the truth, they did a great job. Now the facts of this case are that this man, this 31-year-old man, at the time of when he perpetrated these acts on a child under the age of 13, was a serving police officer. He had joined the police service in I think 2019, in November 2019, about the same time that he started to assault this child. So when I'm talking to my members and we look at the process of recruitment of police, and from about 2019 or just before that, 2018, when the police service numbers were dropping really, and I'm not saying that their criteria changed at all, but it seems it was a lot more easier and things were bypassed, I think, because people are going to say, oh, how did this predator become a police officer? Well, let me start from the beginning, that this man had no criminal record at all. There was absolutely nothing on this man's record. When he was going through the selection process with Hertfordshire Police, there was some things flagged up about him, things that he had liked on Facebook, which were, to say the least, were questioned. So he was brought in to in this process, or in this, as he was trying to get to be a police officer, and they asked him about things that he had either liked or said things online. Because in this recruitment process, especially to be a police officer, a serving police officer, where really you are paid for by the taxpayer, you are there to serve the public, not to offend, you are there to serve, you have to go through this criteria. So anything that you've put online or done from any age will then come up. And so yes, he was questioned on certain things that he had liked. It doesn't actually say about the things that he was questioned over. It's just that they were questionable for a police officer to have liked such things or commented on such sort of articles or comments that were put up, posts that were put up on Facebook. He said at that interview that now he's older, 31-year-old man, that didn't reflect what he's like now. That was when he was younger. Now my issue is, a few years ago when you was going through the recruitment process to be a police officer, a serving police officer, that would have stopped you getting through, really. right? It would have, because the choice for them would have been so much more, you know, the choice pool of who they'd like to be a police officer and who can be trusted to be a police officer. So there is an inquiry now going into this of how we got in, but it wasn't outstanding, it wasn't significant, I suppose, in a way that the police can be held account. They should be held account, because we cannot allow people like this James Ford, 31-year-old man, who has then gone through the recruitment process, gone through the training process, so he knows the law, he knows what he's there to do, is to serve the public. He's then been put in an ununiformed, so he's ununiformed, a little bit like Wayne Couzens, ununiformed, and he was then put out on patrols and stuff like that. Now we're talking about here a child predator, right? That's what he was. Now whether he believed that being a police officer would protect him from that, we don't know. We don't know. I would assume so. But I don't believe that a 31-year-old man has just started to abuse children. I don't. I think there's probably other things that this man has done. But for now, no one can find out, and no one has come forward with any other allegations against this man. Now, at the time of this, as I said, he was a serving police officer in Bishop Stortford area, and he had just really started. So listen, he was arrested and charged, and when he was arrested about these allegations, he said that he can't understand why the child would say something about him. He couldn't understand it. Then he broke down in tears. Then he says he dropped his phone and that wiped everything off his phone. And he was also done for preventing the course of justice by trying to delete things and destroy things on his phone. He was also charged with 11 counts of different counts, and I shall go through them, at Cambridge Crown Court on October the 19th this year. So this is a very new case. Now the charges that James Ford was convicted for was rape against a victim who was under the age of 13, 2 counts of assault by penetration, 2 of sexual assault, and 2 of causing or inciting a child under the age of 13 to engage in sexual activity. Plus, also, as I've said before, preventing the course of justice by destroying his phone. This man has never shown any remorse for any of these crimes. Actually, as I've said in the previous part of this video, that this man actually said or believed, I think, that the courts and the police would believe him when he said that these were just allegations and they couldn't be proven, and he thought by destroying his phone and everything else that he would get away with this sort of crime. Now I think we have to look at the time of these crimes and the time of when he became a police officer. Listen, this man I think was under 2 years in the police service, to tell you the truth. That's how long it was. So let's look now at his crime dates, really, where it was through, and how then he became caught for this crime, and also what happened in the court. So the crimes against this child took place about the 1st of December 2019 right up until the 30th of September 2021. Now this is, I think Ford tampered with his phone on the 17th of October 2021. This is when he knew that these allegations being made against him, and he tried to destroy any evidence that would have been on that mobile phone. And this is what the judge and the jury believed that he did to try and hinder this investigation. Now how he was caught is that we have this young girl under the age of 13 who was brutally attacked, sexual assault by this man, raped by this man on numerous occasions, and done other things with her. that she went to her father in the end and told him. Now this child is so brave, because what we're talking about here is a young child that had been sexually abused by this man. She had probably been threatened by this man. At this stage, don't forget, this man had just become a police officer as well. So he was probably using that as a tool to make sure that he knew that people wouldn't believe her. And he probably told her that, to tell you the truth. These predators come out with lots of crap when they are trying to incite, and get these children to do things. They just come out with anything. They threaten their families, they threaten other siblings, they do lots and lots of stuff. But this girl was so brave at this age to come forward and say to her father what was going on. He and his wife immediately rang the police, and they believed them, right, because of what this child was saying. Now don't forget, this child would have had to give evidence in court against this man as well. She would have had to. And he made sure of that, because this is such a coward of a man that even though he knew he did these acts, he tried to say that this child was lying, and he couldn't understand why she would come out with this sort of stuff. Listen, this child, this underage girl, 13, under the age of 13, had the bravery to do that. Not only probably did she save herself from really, really serious damage over a long period of time, not only physically, but psychological damage from this man, which he has already caused her. Let's not forget that. But she's also probably now saved this happening to many, many other children, because this man was a predator with a warrant card, meaning that he believed that he had the law on his side. People would be scared to say he was a police officer. Also, being a police officer puts you in a position of trust, doesn't it? People trust you. Police officers don't do things like this, do they? Well, anyone, and I've said it right from day dot, anybody can be a sexual predator of children. Anybody, from any walk of life, from whatever they do. The problem is that these people now, like this James Ford, are infiltrating into places like teachers, police officers, social workers. All these sort of things are coming out because they believe it gives them a right, I suppose. They think they're above the law. People are not going to say anything about them. They can get off with it. But this man, I'm telling you now, was smiling as he walked in to that courtroom, because he believed what he had done he was going to get away with, because he believed because he was a serving police officer and he had destroyed evidence to try and save himself, that it was his word, a police officer's word, against a young under 13-year-old child who has been put through the worst abuse in her life, right? That's what he thought. And he walked into that sentencing hearing in Cambridge Crown Court smiling. He was smiling. And you'll see photos of him. He was smiling. Now this is a big man, right? Attacking a very young child and thinking he can get away with it. Well, I'll tell you now, he didn't. Now, as I say, he just denied everything. He's never said he'd done anything. And I think this took place, as I said, between December 19, the same month he joined the police force, the same month. So was he grooming this child before? Did he think because he became a police officer that he could get away with it? Was that the only reason that he joined the police force? Probably. It was. Now, and I think in the 17th of October, I think this was when, and that's when this girl under 13. So there was only one child in this case. That's the only evidence they've got, really, is her account of what happened. And it was an account that put this man behind bars for 18 years and 13 months. Now, we have to say, don't we, when we talk about, and I do many cases on victims of crime like this, and we talk about paedophiles and we talk about this sort of stuff all the time. And I get so distraught sometimes when I hear some of these predators have got 3 years, 4 years, 18 months or whatever, or sometimes even got off, right? And so when I read this case, to tell you the truth, when I heard about this police officer going up on these charges, I wasn't sure what sort of sentence this person would get. I wasn't, because you just never know, right? You never know. You never know what the judge is going to do. We have sentencing guidelines and stuff like that that they have to go through with judges. But this judge gave the maximum sentence he could to this man. Really, the police service, Cambridgeshire Police Service, is their special unit for, abuse against children and stuff like that, really pushed for this man to be held accountable for what he done and for justice to be served here. Now, I must say, there is no time in prison, really, for any perpetrator like this that would ever be enough. And I think this girl's mother has said that, because she said this child was a happy, outgoing child, love life, full of life, and her childhood was taken away from her by this monster. It really was. Her character has changed. She has become withdrawn. The light, I suppose, or the spark has gone out of her for now. Only for now, because I believe that this girl is no longer a victim. She's now a survivor. And when she gets older and with counselling, and she's going to need counselling because of what happened to her, with counselling, and when she understands as she grows up of the amount of kids that she's probably saved through her actions, I hope this girl, and I wish this girl and her family all the best. But there, as I said, there is no time, is there? 18 years and 3 months, he won't serve all of it, will he? He won't, right? He won't. They don't. You have to serve a certain amount of time in there, and I think it's a fifth of his sentence or whatever you have to do. But listen, I think when we talk about predators like this, child predators are at the bottom of the hierarchy in prison already, right? Then we talk about this man being a serving police officer at the time of his arrest. These are probably the two most hated categories of prisoners any prison can ever hold. So he's got 18 years and 3 months for what he did. And I'm telling you now, he won't be smiling anymore, will he? Because these prisoners, you see, know what's coming. They know what charges this man's been up for. And he may have protection for about the first 2 years, right? But you're talking about prisons that are full, understaffed, underfunded. And I'm telling you now, this man will not be able to be protected the whole time he's in this prison. So, and I've said it in one of my slides, he may have been smiling when he went into that courtroom, thinking that he was going to get away with all these charges. And we have a judge now that has literally thrown the book at him. One, because of the perpetrator and the acts that he done on this child were extreme. And two, because when you're a serving police officer, and the judge has said this, you are there to protect the public, not to abuse the public, or your services, or your rank, or your position in that. So that's why this man got 18 years and 3 months. Now, all I can say for this, James Ford, is that probably every prison in the United Kingdom will know about you. Every prisoner in them prisons will know about you. They would know where you're going to. Your life, or his life, is going to be hell on earth. Probably just as bad, if not worse, than what the damage and the pain and suffering that he caused to this child. So prisoners in the UK are like prisoners anywhere else in the world. These people are not tolerated in prison. They are not. This man will probably not have a good night's sleep for the whole time that he remains in prison. He certainly won't be smiling on a daily basis. I'm telling you that now. Because the two most hated people in a prison service is a police officer, or in a prison, not in a service, is a police officer and a paedophile. And this man's both. Now these predators like this, police officers and predators like he is, officers, predators with a warrant card, are the most dangerous in our society. And they are trying to infiltrate into these sort of positions to make sure that they can get to their victims more easily. And that, I think, now has been highlighted in this case. And also the judge has made it quite clear that this won't be tolerated anymore. And I think if we had in this country more judges like this man, and I'll put slides up and you can see all the names and stuff, this country would be better. Now I'm not saying that these predators will be stopped, because obviously the fear of these predators going into prison isn't enough to stop them doing what they do. But when they think they can get away with it, when they think they're going to get very low sentences and they're going to be put on a secure unit for sex offenders and stuff like that, they won't be harmed. Listen, you can't guarantee any prisoner who's done anything, whether it's a predator like this or a murderer or whatever they've done, will not be attacked in prison. Prison has its own rules, its own hierarchy. And believe it, this man, this James Ford, is at the bottom of that pile. He really is. He really is. Now, if that isn't a deterrent now for people like James Ford to stop what you're doing, really, because you are going to go into a prison for a very, very long time now. Because, gosh, I hope that other judges and other, police forces look at this case and think, yes, you've actually listened now to what public opinion is and about the sentencing that is available for these predators. So if this sentence is available for this predator, it should be available for all predators like this, whether they're police officers or not, because we cannot continue to have our children being abused just for the sexual gratification of these people. So listen, I'll put some slides up, have a look. But do you know what? I'm pleased in this case that this man got that time, 18 years and 3 months. I'm pleased. But let's see. Let's see. Now, I am guaranteeing you we'll have some updates on this case sooner or later. So until the next time, bye-bye.